You ever hear stories about people disappearing on St. Patrick's Day? I never thought much of it, just assumed it was drunk folks getting lost or making bad decisions. But last year, I saw something that still keeps me awake at night. I live in Chicago, where St. Patrick's Day is a huge deal. The whole city turns into a sea of green parades, bar crawls, the river dyed emerald. I usually avoid the chaos, but my friend Dave convinced me to come out. Just one drink, man, he promised. Famous last words. We ended up at this old Irish pub on the south side, the kind with dark wooden walls, dusty shamrocks, and the smell of stale beer mixed with something older, something rotten. The place was packed. People laughing, shouting, clinking glasses, and then in the corner, I saw him. A man dressed in an old-fashioned green suit, the fabric looking almost too stiff, like it didn't belong in this century. He had a beard, wild and unkempt, and his eyes, they weren't right. Too pale, too empty. He wasn't drinking, wasn't talking, just watching. At first, I thought he was a weird party performer. Maybe one of those actors hired to play a leprechaun for the night. But then I noticed something that sent a chill down my spine. No one else seemed to notice him. People walked past, bumped his chair, but never looked, never reacted. Dave and I were at the bar when he finally moved. He stood and walked toward a girl near the door, a college kid, maybe 20 years old. She was drunk, laughing, leaning on one of her friends. When he finally reached her, he whispered something in her ear, and then her smile vanished. She turned, dazed, like she was sleepwalking. Then, just like that, she walked out the door, alone. I'm not quite sure why, but I followed. Maybe it was the way her face changed, the way her body moved like she wasn't in control. Maybe it was the absolute silence in the air when she stepped outside. She stumbled into the alley next to the bar. I caught up just in time to see him standing there with her. His back was turned toward me, but I swear, he wasn't touching her. He was just there, and she was frozen, mouth open, in a silent scream. Then she started to fade. Not like running away, not like passing out. She just dissolved, like smoke in the wind, her eyes locked onto mine in pure, desperate terror, and then gone. I ran back inside, gasping, panicked. "Where's that girl?" I shouted. The bartender just frowned. "What girl?" "The one who was standing just right there, with the man in the green." Dave grabbed my arm. "Dude, what man?" I turned. The corner where he had sat was empty. No chair, no glass, no trace. The next morning, I checked the news. A missing person report. Her name was Emily Carter. Last seen outside that very bar. No witnesses, no security footage, just gone. And the worst part? I started looking deeper into it. Every year on St. Patrick's Day, someone vanishes from that neighborhood. No bodies, no leads, just another name added to the list. This year, I'm staying inside. Because if I see him again, I know I won't be lucky enough to just walk away. I don't usually believe in superstitions. The whole, wear green on St. Patrick's Day or you'll get pinched, always seemed like a harmless joke. But last year, I learned the hard way that some traditions aren't just for fun. I was working late that night, bartending at a little Irish pub just outside of Boston. The kind of place that felt like it had been there forever, with worn-out wooden floors, dim lighting, and the faint smell of old whiskey soaked into the walls. We had the usual crowd: rowdy college kids, office workers looking for an excuse to drink on a weekday, and a few other regulars who never really left their bar stools. Then around midnight, a man walked in. At first, I didn't think much of him. He was tall, lean, dressed in a deep green coat that looked a little too heavy for the weather. His hat, also green, sat low over his forehead, casting a shadow over his face. But his eyes, there was something off about them. A little too bright, a little too sharp. He slid into a seat at the bar and smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Not many people take the rules seriously anymore," he said, his voice smooth but unsettling. I frowned. "What rules?" His smile widened. "You're not wearing green." I glanced down at my black t-shirt. Oh, guess I forgot. The air in the bar felt heavier. I suddenly realized how quiet it had gotten. The usual chatter had faded. People still moved, still laughed, but their voices seemed distant, like I was hearing them through a wall. The man leaned forward. "You should fix that. Now." I forced a chuckle. "Guess I'll have to take my chances." His expression darkened. "Bad luck." A shiver ran down my spine. I turned to grab a glass, just to shake off the tension, but when I looked back, he was gone. No sign of him. No empty glass. Just gone. I exhaled, telling myself I was imagining things. Just a weird guy trying to mess with me on St. Patrick's Day. When I glanced at the bar mirror, my stomach dropped. Everyone in the reflection was wearing green. Every single person. Even the ones I knew hadn't been wearing green. The girl in the red dress, green sweater now. The guy in a gray hoodie, a bright green cap. And me? I wasn't in the mirror at all. I spun around, heart pounding. The bar was the same. People still drinking, still laughing. When I tried to speak, to ask if anyone else had noticed, my voice didn't come out. I stumbled back, knocking into a stool. No one looked. No one reacted. I grabbed the nearest person, a regular named Mike, and shook his shoulder. He didn't flinch, didn't even blink. I wasn't there. Then, just as fast as it had started, everything snapped back. Sound rushed in, my reflection returned, my chest ached like I had been holding my breath in for too long. The man in the green was sitting at the end of the bar again, watching me. He raised his glass in a mock toast. "Lucky you." I didn't stay to close up that night. I quit the next day. And this year, I don't care how stupid it sounds, I'll be wearing green. Because some traditions aren't just old wives' tales. Some are warnings. I grew up in a small town in Pennsylvania where nothing much ever happened. But every year, St. Patrick's Day was a big deal. We had a parade, nothing fancy, just some high school bands, local businesses tossing out candy, people dressed up in green. It was a tradition. Last year, though, I went back home for the holiday. My younger sister, Maddie, was marching in the parade with her school, so my mom and I stood on the sidewalk, waiting for it to start. The streets were packed, kids with shamrock face paint, older folks waving Irish flags, and the whole town out, like always. Then, right before the parade began, I saw him. A man standing at the very edge of the crowd, barely moving. He wore a long green coat, buttoned down all the way up to his throat, and a hat pulled low over his face. At first, I thought he was just another festive local, but then I noticed something strange. No one stood near him. The crowd naturally avoided his space, like they didn't even see him. I nudged my mom. "Do you know that guy?" She followed my gaze, squinted, then shook her head. "Who?" I looked back, and my breath caught in my throat. He was staring directly at me. Before I could say anything, the parade started. The music, the cheers, the laughter. It should have been comforting, but something was wrong. The air felt colder. The sky seemed duller, like a film had been placed over everything. And then, as Maddie's group marched past, I saw him again. This time in the parade, walking right behind my sister. I shoved through the crowd, panic rising. People shouted as I pushed past them, but I didn't care. I had to reach her. "Maddie!" I yelled, but she didn't turn, didn't react. The man reached out. His long, bony fingers hovered just over her shoulder. I lunged, and suddenly I was standing in the middle of an empty street. The parade was gone. The crowd was gone. The decorations, the banners, the music, everything was gone. The buildings looked older, abandoned. The sky was a dull gray. No sun, no clouds, just empty. The town felt hollow, like a place forgotten by time. And in the silence, I heard footsteps. I turned. He was still there, smiling. "You shouldn't have seen me, little girl," he said. Then everything snapped back. The noise, the crowd, the parade, all right where they had just been. I was standing in the same spot, my mom gripping my arm, her face pale. "Maddie?" I said, frantically searching for her. She was still marching, still smiling, but the man was gone. I never told my mom what exactly happened, but that night, I checked the town's history. The parade had been happening for over 100 years, but back in 1903, something had gone horribly wrong. A collapse on the main street. Dozens of people fell through, buried alive. The town held a memorial every year, but they never stopped the parade, as if something wouldn't let them. This year, I'm not going back, because if I see that man again, I don't think I'll get to come back at all.